One of the things that Donna and I did when we first bought our Montana was to take the kitchen table out. It just seemed like it was too high. Donna still works from home. We needed a desk space to work with, so I fabricated a desk in there. And since we've been using it now for about a year, the foam in our chairs that we use for that area have just completely worn out. One of the things we wanted to do was to replace the foam in those chairs. We'd really like to replace those chairs with some rolling ones, but we just haven't been able to find anything that works well with the lip that's there that goes out onto the slide and having wheels on a professional office chair. So hang on, we'll be right back. We'll take these chairs apart and put them back together again with some new foam. Require many tools to get this done. I kind of cheated a little bit. Before I retired, I had an upholstery shop, so I have a few odds and end tools that I carry around with me for just such occasions. So the first thing you're going to need to do is get you a good surface to work on. Turn the chair upside down, and on the bottom of the chair there should be a dust cover of some sort, real thin material. Save this, you can reuse it to put it back on. Sometimes they're held on with Velcro, sometimes they may be stapled on. So if they're stapled on, you'll need a small, like a #1 flathead screwdriver, or if you've got a staple puller, you can use those. Be very cautious to make sure you get all of the staple out. You don't want any cut fingers or stab fingers or blood everywhere. So then you'll want to work on getting the legs off. The legs on your chairs, depending on what type you have, could be attached in a variety of different ways. These are attached with 9 T25 screws, so just unscrew and take them off. Be very careful when setting the frame of the chair off of the seat part. Kind of fragile and will bend and break on you if you're too rough on it. So set it aside, and then you should have the bottom of your chair and looking at the guts of your cushions to work with. The next step in the process is going to be to take the staples out all the way around the fabric. This fabric that I have is still in really good shape. There's nothing wrong with the fabric. The foam is simply worn out. So I took my time, was very careful about getting the staples out, pulling all the extra pieces out, and saving the fabric as best as possible so that I could reuse it again. Now, as you can see from this clip, the foam was supposed to be 2-inch foam that was in there. It's cheap made. I think it was made in Malaysia or something, and they really aren't designed to be used for what we were using them for. So went down to Joann's, picked up some 3-inch foam to replace it with. There should be 2-inch there. We wanted a little extra cushion, and I had enough room on this to make it work that way. And wasn't very much. I think they had it on special for $30 for 2 pieces that were already mostly sized for this chair. The next step is going to be to get the old foam out and then put it on top and mark it off so that you can cut the new foam. Now, I don't have my foam cutter with me, and when I did have a foam cutter, the one thing that I used the most was simply an electric turkey knife from inside your house. That was the best tool that I ever had in my upholstery shop for cutting and shaping foam. So this time I had a serrated edge knife that we used. It did leave a bit of a rough edge, but the fabric that I have is thick enough to be able to cover that, especially once I compress it just a little bit. So cut it to fit. Just take your time. Make it where that it's as smooth as possible. Get it all stuffed back together. When you put your foam on, as you can see here where I'm pulling the fabric across to tuck your corners and make sure all the foam fits up into the fabric like it should. Pull it across and then flip it back over so that you sort of staple it. I like to staple from one side to the other. You can see here I started across one end. You want to make sure that you pull evenly so that the space between your seam line and the bottom of your chair is equal all the way around your chair. So take your time, staple it back into place. Put your dust cover back in place, and then, before you put your dust cover, put your legs back in place and then put your dust cover back in place. Really easy job to do both of these chairs. Took me less than an hour with gathering up tools and everything outside. So if you have any questions, comment below. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. You can forward us some pictures. You also feel free to look into the comments below, and I'll have a link for some of the tools that I use. I do carry a small air compressor. I don't use the buy air. I already had a little air compressor that I got from Home Depot for less than $100. I had air hose from my shop, so I just keep it on board. It does good about pumping up our tires and keeping things for air around here, so it was easy for me to have an air stapler on hand. Any type of stapler will work. You don't need anything special to do this job. Follow us along for more advice as we keep moving on down the road.